You can't see the rose on my jumper, which upsets me greatly. I've started filming in this direction for a while, I don't know why. Felt like it. I cover most of the mess with myself. Same. Hi pals, it is me, Artie, they them pronouns only. Thank you very much. Today's topic is kind of a weird one. It's about my car and driving. I have been driving since, I don't know, June of 2012, I think. So later, yeah, this year, nearly like 10 years. That's when I officially passed my driver's test, was somewhere in June of 2012. But I've been learning since I turned 17 / a little bit before that in my family's like driveway and shit, you know? I have had quite a journey generally with learning to drive, driving cars, all that sort of fiasco, all the way up to today, that I would like to just kind of discuss. So yeah, my starting to drive journey was a rocky one. I had 2 different instructors. The first one was just some dude who kept asking me about the football, and I was just like, mate, I do not watch football. I am gay. Do I look like I watch football? And he also said certain things that just made me really dislike driving with him, feeling unsafe with him, both like emotionally and like literally in the car. Like I would always hit like a curb in every lesson pretty much, and I would always stall trying to go up, like, because my driveway, there's a little bit of a steep hill to get up my drive, and he would start calling it doing an arty, and I was like, thanks, as if I'm the only person who has this problem. I think most, if not all of my lessons were in my own car as well. You know, chill out, dude. We're literally driving my tiny Nissan Micra, which in some ways also put more pressure on me because there obviously wasn't the like control gears and pedals and shit that they sometimes have in their own cars that they use for driving, instructing and whatnot. But I thought that would be better off because, you know, this would be the car that I'd be driving. Kind of makes sense, right? I had quite a few lessons with him and got to the point where I was like, no, please don't make me do this again, because I just didn't like how he talked to me and wasn't explaining very well what I was doing. So we changed my driving instructor to someone a family friend was using, and this was a younger woman who was a lot more laid back, a lot more relatable to me in a lot of ways. Did make me feel weird. I also just have like a thing where having to be alone with men makes me super uncomfortable. It felt a lot better all round. She helped me with a lot of the issues I was having with my previous instructor. I also took the theory test 3 times before I passed it because I was mentally ill. But I was always really good at the hazard perception. You know, visuals, always been good at the visuals. It's multiple choice questions, not a fan. And I was trying to get that done before they changed the whole thing, because it was like right before they changed it, but I'm sure it's been changed numerous times since 2012. I was trying to do it before I then would just have a whole other kind of curriculum to be learning instead. But I had a much better time with this instructor, felt way more comfortable, and I managed to then pass my test on the first go. And I did the test in my own car as well. Everything was all grand. I had so much anxiety though before starting learning to drive. I think it was just the idea of having to control this humongous fucking vehicle, even though my own car, teeny tiny, little Nissan Micra, the idea of controlling something so large, and also still being very aware of how deadly driving and car crashes were. Not it. I had my first accident within maybe a couple of years because I was still at college, so I think it might have been maybe in the autumn of that year where basically someone was fucking reversing in their humongous, like, ridiculous 4x4 car on a road that you definitely shouldn't be fucking reversing, like, onto. It was like a main road. They were reversing from like a side road onto a main road, and I was like right behind them because I was trying to go up into the side road to get to college, and they just didn't even fucking see me. So they just drove into the side of my car, reversed into the side of my car. I then had to just be without a fucking handle for ages because my car back then had little plastic handles, and I'd never been in that situation before. The amount of adrenaline and anxiety was just like horrific. Even though everything was fine, I just remember hitting my horn because, like, how did she not see me? My car was bright red, my dude. I know it's a small car, but it was fucking bright red. I don't really know what ended up happening with that, but I remember we had to try and find a handle to replace it because I had this tiny little bit of like plastic that I had to try and pull to get in my fucking car, and it was just so annoying. But it was like that for a while, and I think it probably had like a dent in the door as well. But I had kind of no choice. I had to learn how to drive because where I live now is where I was living then. I literally am in the middle of nowhere. There is a bus stop I could possibly walk to, but also not really. We don't have pavements around here. I don't even know when the bus turns up. Also not exactly trustworthy if it will turn up regularly. And our train station nearby is like a 40+ minute walk. Again, mostly no pavements. You kind of basically just have to fucking drive down there. And you might as well just drive to the town that you're going to instead of getting a train that only comes once an hour each way. That, as well as like my mum was working shifts, so she couldn't always give me a lift. I would have to get lifts off of different family members for like the first chunk of, I think probably like my first year of college. But we did kind of get to work it out that sometimes working with my driving lessons and stuff helped get me to and from home and college and stuff, but with practice of driving and whatever. So it was like a real pain in the ass having to learn how to drive, but I had to, otherwise I just would never be able to get anywhere. And that's kind of continued to be a problem, that if I know I can't drive to a place, or it would just be easier to get a train. There are so many issues that have popped up with those situations that, I don't know, always the one time I need to be at an appointment for a certain time, the train's delayed and I would have missed the appointment because there's just no other options. So I had to learn how to drive, and it wasn't too bad to begin with. I feel like I was relatively good at driving, still am. I can parallel park, thank you very much. I don't like reverse parking, but I can reverse out of a parking space, you know? And it was really helpful for a lot of things. I had a lot of freedom of, I could just go hang out with my friends whenever I wanted to and come home whenever I wanted to. I was very responsible that I, you know, wouldn't get drunk if I had to drive home. But it did also limit me in other ways, that if I wanted to go out with my friends to the city for, like, you know, our first experiences of going clubbing, I basically never got the invites because I had to stay at somebody's house if that was going to happen, because we just didn't have trains that ran that late that came through and stopped at my local station, and then someone would still have to come pick me up anyway, or, you know, whatever. So whilst it was great generally in theory that I could do whatever I liked during the day and I could stay around my friends' houses or whatever quite late whenever I liked, there were a lot of things I feel like I missed out on because I couldn't just hop on a bus or a train. I got to experience a lot of that when I went to uni. We were sort of on the outskirts of London, and the public transport is just like unmatched. The difference was incredible for me. As a multiply disabled person, you don't need any special card. You literally can just use your bank card and just tap it. You don't have to pay with money. You don't have to think about it that much. And like the bus system was just so much easier to understand to me. And I'd been going up and around London since I was around like 16, 17 anyway, that I was used to the trains and the tube systems whenever I did want to go into like Central or whatever. But I didn't have my car with me that year. I don't really remember what exactly happened, but at some point I basically sold that red Nissan Micra because I wasn't really using it. But then we bought another one We bought a silver one that was automatic, and I only had that for a short amount of time because my second crash was on the motorway. It was very mild. Me and the other person were very lucky. This time it was actually my fault. We were in like really slow traffic. I think I was trying to come home because I had an appointment or something that I had to get to in the area around here from London. I think I'd done like most of the drive and I was nearly home, but yeah, it was really slow traffic. People like bumper to bumper. I realised I was in the wrong lane, so I was trying to get over into the next lane, and I thought the car in front of me was further in front or had moved further in front than it actually had. So my front left hit their back right, and their car was fine. It was just their bumper and we paid for it, but my car had to then be written off. I somehow managed to fuck up my car so badly that it had to be written off, and it was with somebody else who was around my age. So in a lot of ways I'm thankful for that experience instead of it being who it could have been, which is a lot of very angry, horrible men. Yeah, I just remember us both getting out of the car to go and like give each other our details, both of us shaking and like literally crying, and I remember hugging her, and it was like really intense because even really mild car crashes can be really anxiety inducing. So those have been my only like actual crashes. I've had little bumps and scrapes of like bollards and stuff in the past, but those are the only situations I'd actually ever been in where I had to try and remember to exchange details and shit, and try and get home. That was hell. They took my car to a service station. I had to wait for my mum to come get me before I could let them take my car to wherever they were taking my car. I had to also take all of my stuff out the car, you know, all this stuff that's just like so much work. I think someone eventually bought what was left of that car off of us because a few years later we got charged at the I can't remember what it's called, the tunnels, but like we got a charge and it was that car. So the guy who bought it clearly got it working again. Go you, dude, but also screw you for that charge. So then I went shopping for my own car. For the first time I was really looking myself rather than completely letting it like be my mum's choice. I loved both of my Nissan Micros, they were great, but you know, this time it was my first time really going shopping and buying the car. I also found having a car has been really helpful and useful for me in many situations, getting to and from hospital appointments, getting to and from uni with all of my shit. Also going to the supermarkets without having to carry all these bags on like public transport and things like that, and driving around sort of the local areas here and some of the areas like up where I was at university. But also when I was at uni, the car just wasn't being used very often. I bought my VW Beetle, which is what the kind of point of this video is. Can't remember exactly how much I bought it for, but it was secondhand, and we replaced a couple of bits inside and outside to make it look a bit nicer, but it was in good condition. Everyone was like jealous of it because everyone wants the VW Beetle kind of looking car, and it was like, I think Paige from Charmed drove a similar kind of car, but it was in a like mint or light green, you know, like it was my dream car at the time. But it was a lot of getting used to. It was a completely different size and length and shape to my other two cars. It was a lot lower as well, and there were certain things I couldn't change about it. Like it had gone past the point where cars were no longer built where you could change the radios out anymore. So I also had this old radio from one of my old cars. I love listening to music when I'm driving, especially on my own or like on longer trips with my mum. So I had to start keeping CDs in my car and using these funny little FM radio plug-in things that only work if you have radio signal. But you know, for the most part it was really great. It was cool to have. It wasn't too big that it was too difficult to be parking places, because I was parking a lot of like London suburbs, which was a pain. My first house at uni in my second year had a driveway, so that was a bit better, that we could kind of fit a car or two on the drive, and like 2 to 3 of us had cars that we drove, so you know, it wasn't too bad. I drove it a lot more in that year as well, but then my third year I was living closer to uni, where I literally just got one bus for 5 minutes and was like right outside the campus, and also could just get a bus for like 10 minutes and get to a different town, or, you know, I literally could get everywhere by bus. We lived right next to a station as well. There was like a 10-15 minute walk. The only time I was using my car was to drive home or sometimes go to a supermarket. It got kind of annoying. That's when having a car got to be a pain in the ass. I was always bothering my neighbours to jumpstart me, which was it got to the point where I was like,
yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm genuinely so embarrassed. This is my life.
I had to replace the battery at one point, which was expensive. Like, the AA had to come out. Then I came home after uni and I was using it for a bit then, because, you know, pre-pandemic scenario situations where I could still go places. I didn't have to worry too much about any of the COVID stuff we now have to worry about. I was also going to the hospital a lot for different appointments or doctor's appointments, because this was as I was trying to get my initial diagnoses for things like Crohn's and Takayasu's. So it was a lot of appointments I was going to, and I could go and see my friends. Yeah, you know, I would be able to drive and see my friends who were like not local, a bit further out, but also could see my local friends who lived in like towns over or whatever. So it wasn't that big of a problem. Or I was going to things like job interviews, and work, things like that. Through all these years, I've also not qualified for a disabled parking badge. It has made driving to certain things really difficult because like, I have a lot of driving anxiety. I wrote a post about it a really long time ago on my blog, quite soon after I came back from uni, I think. The longer I've been a driver, the worse other drivers have gotten. Around here, it got to the point, like, it's still so bad. I think it's gotten so much worse as well since people have had to stay inside for longer and maybe haven't been keeping up with how you're supposed to fucking drive a car. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong. But like, there's countless times where people are like riding my arse in like really dangerous roads, because in the countryside we don't have lamps. A lot of the roads are like the national speed limit, which is like 70. The roads aren't very wide, they're very windy. Like, there's a corner that constantly has its fucking front wall ploughed in, and another corner that constantly has its fence ploughed in, because people are bad at driving around here. I also heard on a podcast, Help Me I'm Scared, something like that, where apparently we've had the science to be able to actually have flying cars, but because we are so bad at driving non-flying cars, they were like, no, they're not having flying cars. Which I believe fully and entirely in my soul, because of how many bad drivers I've experienced. Like, I've had people who think it's their right of way when it isn't. There was also a situation really not long ago where me and my mum almost got fucking ploughed into by a bus. That was terrifying and enraging. I did report that bus driver, by the way. The amount of times that you'll maybe come around a corner and there's someone coming the other way and they're just driving down the middle of the road, like right on the line, down the middle of the road. They're just doing what they want. When some of the roads change a little bit, people don't use their brains and just continue using it the old way, especially with roundabouts. Like, they'll maybe build an extra lane and build some more roads coming off the roundabout, and people will use the wrong ones all the time, and people just don't indicate. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And then if I remember, I will link that old blog post description of this video, so you can maybe get some more of a feeling of what I was dealing with back then. But it's just gotten worse over the years, and that has just made me more anxious. I can only do so much, dude. I can only control myself and my vehicle, and when like 75-80% of other drivers are like so incredibly bad, it's genuinely terrifying. With the pandemic, I was going out even less. I was going out even less than I was before, and I wasn't even going out that much then. But I would at least probably go out once or twice a week, so my car would get a drive and a go. But like, I really couldn't do it. And I've experienced some agoraphobia in the past when I was at uni in my 3rd year. It was really difficult to leave my house, and I had to really, like, I don't know how I was doing it, but I really had to just like throw myself out the front door, otherwise I wouldn't leave. And I had to get to appointments and my lessons and shit. And it's kind of the same as what I'm kind of dealing with now, but a bit less so. It was definitely a lot worse earlier in the pandemic. So along with like some things going on in the world that are validating me having agoraphobia and having less reasons to go anywhere, it was really difficult to just, you know, my family were on at me all the time. I just had to go and give my car a drive. I just can't do it. So my car battery was constantly flat. Every time I did need it, it would always be flat, and then it'd be like a last second panic to jump start it or charge it for a bit before I'd go anywhere, or someone else would just have to drive me and drop me off or what the fuck ever. And it was just getting to the point where I was like, you know what, I don't even like this fucking car anymore. Like, I didn't care. I started to feel like the design of the car as well was not suitable for me and my disabilities. I am really light sensitive, and like, because the dashboard was so long, even though it's fucking black, it would be reflecting up inside my windscreen and would make seeing the fucking road like difficult, along with some other functions about it too. I remember saying a while ago, like, I think it might be time to get rid of my car, because I'm no longer in love with driving it. I don't really care about it, and if anything, it's just causing me more stress than it ever has done before. And it's not because, you know, there's nothing wrong with the car itself, it's just fitting it with my lifestyle. It was no longer suitable for me anymore. It took fucking ages to get my mum to like sit down with me to have a discussion about what we were doing next. Because the thing is, my mum has been working from home for quite a long time, doesn't really need her car a lot of days. So I've said, like, you know what, if you're okay with me sharing your car, then I'm happy to try to learn how to use your car, but you need to help me like learn how to use your car first before we sell my car. So I can get used to it a little bit, see how I like it, and that can help inform my decision. So yeah, that took fucking ever to do. It was also just costing me so much money to have a car that I wasn't using. KMS. So it's really only been maybe since December I've tried to learn how to drive my mum's car a little bit, and I decided to sell it, and within a week someone did actually offer the full amount we were looking for, and it was gone, like literally gone the same day. And I'd complained to numerous friends about my car in the last like half a year, and I talked about it on my like support group for like people with chronic illnesses and shit, because like a car is and can be a big indicator of independence, and it's definitely been used against me numerous times in like trying to claim benefits. And it's like, what am I supposed to fucking do, my dude? Like, we don't have services around here that would be able to support me being able to get to appointments I need to get to. And I learned how to drive a really long time ago. Yeah, whilst it's been definitely kind of weird in a lot of ways that I now just don't have my own car anymore and I drive my mum's car, it definitely has helped me feel a lot better in a lot of ways. That, you know, it's one thing that I'm not spending loads of money on that I'm not using for a start. Someone else is actually going to go drive it. I believe it is the buyer's first car, so, you know, hopefully they will get a lot of use out of the car. I'm feeling more comfortable and safe in my mum's car than I was in my own. And yeah, we work out a schedule of like, if I need to go to an appointment, it's not that difficult at the moment, and if it becomes more of an issue, that's just something we'll just have to talk about another time. But like, for right now, I was just wasting so much money, getting really aggro about it, people moving it and doing things to it to try and keep on top of it, and it would just throw me off because autistic in it. So yeah, this is like the first time in my driving life that I don't have my own car, and whilst maybe in a lot of other scenarios and situations this might be seen as maybe something sad or depressing, or I don't know, I feel a lot freer emotionally, and I think it has also helped some of my agoraphobia, because it's another barrier that's kind of been removed, another worry that's been removed from the whole situation of trying to leave the house and go places. My mum's car helps me feel a lot safer generally for numerous reasons. She has a Jeep for a start. It's bigger and it's taller, whereas all my old cars have been old cars, and it's not something I have to worry about or keep on top of. Like, I basically just have to see if my mum's using the car or not and like give her some money towards it. But it's like a fraction of the cost of money, but also emotional toll has been like minimized so much that it's been a huge benefit for me. And you know, in an ideal world, I would live somewhere that had the kind of transport system that London, or the area of London I lived in, did, because I don't mind the public transport. I actually really don't enjoy driving very much. Sometimes I do. I don't mind public transport so much. With COVID as well, I don't feel safe really on public transport at the moment, but prior to COVID, I felt quite confident to take public transport at all times of the day and night, whereas also now with the hate crimes and shit, maybe a little less confident doing that now. But you know, in an ideal world we would have a much better public transport system. I also know it is better than a lot of places. It's just that because I am so rural, it's shite, mate. It's fucking shite. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because it is a big part of like my disabled life. I do need to drive to get to places because of being so rural. A lot of people don't really understand or see a lot about rural living as a disabled person, and you know, it was a really big decision to sell my car and to share a car now, after been driving for like 9 odd years. Yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to make a little tribute to my car. Like, thanks for being there. To all of my cars, thank you for being there for me, giving me that independence during those moments and being helpful when you were. But it was just time. I fucking hate driving sometimes. A lot of the time. I just wish there was a better system for us out in like the countryside where we don't even have pavements, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this video is going to be received at all, because a bit of a weird choice of topic. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, leave a comment down below. You know, tell me about your experience of driving or cars and shit like that, and your disabilities. I would love to have more of those conversations about why you started driving or why you didn't start driving or why you maybe stopped and blah blah blah. I would love to talk about that more because I think it's kind of a grey area that's not talked about too often. And I also know that I have a relatively privileged point of view with cars, that my mum has always been very helpful with me with my cars, and I've not really needed a lot of adaptations. If you want to see more of me, I have loads of other videos up here. Subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I will see you next week. Bye.